Hi, everybody. So, guess what I'm up to? I am going to channel the Grinch. I'm going to channel the Grinch today. We're going to see what the Grinch is like energetically. So, obviously, the Grinch is a fictional character. That doesn't mean I can't channel him, because fictional characters have consciousness too, and that consciousness is interconnected with the way we as human beings experience reality. So there truly is a Grinch within all of us. And I think the story of the Grinch is just phenomenal because you have this humbug of a persona. And what creates a humbug of a persona? Oftentimes there's a background story to what creates that type of a Grinch personality. Well, you become a Grinch personality, and then you want to ruin everybody's day so they can feel as miserable as you, right? But you want to teach them a lesson about themselves. So we need to go to those Who people, and we need to take all their presents away so they can learn about how greedy they are and how they only care about presents, right? So the Grinch, as we know, takes away the Whoville Christmas, but he doesn't, because they had the spirit of Christmas within their heart, and they sang songs, and they came together in a unity of love, and it healed the Grinch. So what about us? We also need songs and harmony to heal the Grinch within us too. So I didn't think of it this way, but maybe this is more than just a channeled message. Maybe it's a healing, like an actual energetic healing. I don't know. I want to thank all of you, though. All of you who watched my super long, tough December energies video, and we're so... I mean, there's such an abundance of comments on that video. I was so... It was like my own... who Christmas experience with all these presents and all these kind reflections, and they all touched my heart. And so many of you actually watched that video all the way to the end, and it taught me a lesson about how it's okay to just express myself however much I need to express it, however long I need to express it. And those who find value in that message will stick around, and those who don't won't. I find myself sometimes getting interlocked in the the schematics of the reality of attention span. And I too have a very short attention span because I'm like a go-getter, and I'm just like I can't get myself absorbed into a message for too long before I need to be doing something else. But I'm also kind of a hyperactive person at times, so that's just my thing. So I try to get my message out in a way that people like me could actually benefit from it, because they get distracted. But realistically, I just need to get the message out. However, I need to get the message out, and then whoever watches it can listen to it however long they want to. So I'll just say that and say thank you to all of you, because the comments were really touched my heart. And yeah, I just felt very loved. And so I'm going to go ahead and relax, and we'll see what comes, okay, from this experience. It's Grinch time. And we all know what's coming next week. There's a lot of I don't want to say Christmas, because not everybody celebrates Christmas, right? But there's a lot of holiday energy, gift-giving energy, and for those who celebrate Christmas, it's the Christmas energy. And for those who, there's other ways of celebrating it, but I think there's like a common denominator about it all. And so I'm just going to say that. I'm going to relax now. I have no idea what is going to happen here. Okay, I'm just gonna journey to the consciousness of the Grinch. It has nothing to do with Abbey. It has everything to do with this consciousness. And let's get to know the Grinch. Okay. All right, so I'm entering into a world where there's a lot of sadness. And nobody loves me, and nobody comes to visit me. Nobody knocks on my door. I see I see many different faces. I was surprised to see this face. It's the face of somebody who is old, like 80 years old. and they live alone in a house every day, and they have no family members, and there's nobody. And it's almost like locked or trapped inside of their own home. And it makes me very sad. There's a lot of sadness in this frequency defined as the Grinch. So I'm in this space, and it's kind of like an underground layer. And we kind of see the Grinch living in the mountain, right? And it does feel like I'm inside of like an underground, inside of a mountain type of thing. And there's a table, a long table. And I'm trying to prepare a meal and fill the table with lots of food. But all I can come up with is a single red apple. And I feel sad because I really wanted to present more abundance. And I wanted so many different meals and, mashed potatoes and the roast turkey and ham and maybe, maybe prime rib. I don't know. There's going to be gravy and sweet potatoes and green bean casserole. And there's going to be lots of pies. But all I can come up with is a single red apple. And I place it in the center of a long rectangular wooden table. And I feel ashamed of myself, because I couldn't make it better than this. And I see the Grinch hiding in the dark, and he's sitting in a chair at one end of a long table, and the apple is in the center. And he echoes an image to me of myself like a stuffed pig and the apple in my mouth, and I'm on a platter. And then he starts to smile and lick his lips, and he picks up his fork and his knife. He stands up and he starts to walk towards me. It looked like a very delicious meal. I actually remain in this form. I look like a human pig with an apple in my mouth on a big silver platter in the center of this table. And I stay in this form, and I allow the Grinch to make his choice. If he will devour me or if he will change. You know what's sad about all of this is that the Grinch likes to send images and ideas to create fear. But underneath the surface of all that fear is unfathomable grief and sadness. And he comes all the way up to me, but he can't actually stick the fork and the knife in me. He can't actually cut into me because he's not a wicked being. He's just a very sad being. I start to come out of the form, and I look like a white swan, but I also look like a person too, if you can imagine a human white swan. And I have feathers and wings, and I have skin like a human. I have a face like a swan and a long neck. And Grinch is sitting here, and I'm sort of perched on this table, and I hug the Grinch, and I tell him that I am proud of him. I say the fact that you can't stick a fork and a knife in me. I think it's time to acknowledge that this really isn't you. It isn't you to throw out these scary pictures and these threats. It's actually you to admit that you're sad deep down inside. More than anything else, you are sad. Not scary. Sad. He echoes to me what is an old man alone in the house, and nobody comes to his door, nobody invites him to a Christmas party, not a single present. And every time Christmas comes, he is reminded of his loneliness. And he's old, so the freedom to go about isn't exactly there. And he has no solution in order to change the world that he is experiencing. Say there's plenty of places where you can go, where you are welcome. Don't you know? He says, no, Abby, there is nowhere I can go. I come into his home, where in the image of what is an old man, an elderly man living alone in a house, not like a cave-like dwelling, it's like an actual house. And I come inside and I set up a Christmas tree. He looks bitter as I do this. Something of the whole image of a Christmas tree and putting the bulbs on the tree and decorating it, it's something families do. But people that don't have families and don't have friends, they don't do these things. So somehow this symbol of putting up a tree creates a lot of suffering for him because he's not had access to that type of joy in his life. So he hates it. He hates this. I tell him that this is something you need to work on. Hating is not freedom. It's painful self-imprisonment. And every day there is opportunity for change. And today is an opportunity. Just like yesterday was an opportunity, just like tomorrow is an opportunity. Every day there is an opportunity for change. He starts to turn into a vicious monster. Doesn't necessarily look like the Grinch we know, but he has very long nails and he shreds the tree and all the ornaments. He just slices them like a Wolverine into little pieces. And he screams and he comes and attacks me and starts to shred me apart. That's how long it has been since this Grinch has had anybody to love him. That the anger now is uncontrollable because the hurt has been there for so long. Nothing actually happens here other than him expressing what hurts inside. And I say thank you for sharing that with me. I still think you're great. And I know what it's like to hurt inside, and I know what it's like when the hurt becomes the frustration, that becomes the anger that lingers. And it's hard to let it go. And when you don't have anybody to work on it with you, it just seems to fester and develop into more hurt, more frustration, more anger. I say today is the opportunity for you to see the wounds within yourself and to acknowledge it is time to heal those wounds. Okay, he's creating a gateway into a much darker place. And it's all full of fire. And it's full of very angry eyes that are burning. And he says, this is how I felt when I sent you the picture of yourself as a stuffed pig that I'm going to eat. You're supposed to feel the fire and the burning and the anger within me, and it's supposed to scare you. It's supposed to hurt you. It's supposed to terrify you. Why isn't it working? I feel like I am this angry. And he is like a mountain of anger. He is like the Himalayan mountains, all of anger. And the anger, it comes from hurt, deep, 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 deep sadness. Sadness that has never been tended to in a way that could nurture it, to neutralize it, to heal it. So it festered and it became this. And I say, you want people in your life to celebrate the Christmas season with, but yet you want to unleash all of this bitter anger and hate upon them. I say, do you want people to enter into your life? Or do you want to stay alone with the door locked? Where you are safe to not unleash your anger upon anyone who will now run away and never come back, to prove the point that nobody loves you. He starts to cry. He says, I don't know how to even begin to heal this. And he shows me how in this story, it's interesting because I feel like I'm just an energetic pair of eyes watching the creation of this story with me in it. It was Dr. Seuss's attempt to actually heal the Grinch through this story. And to bring people into the Grinch's life, because the Grinch is a real consciousness in the universe. And it's as if nobody has taken the time to help him. We always see him as this sinister evil. And some of us like him that way. I like him that way. But I also like when his heart grows and he starts to realize what love is capable of. And I like him the most because he is so deranged and grinchy. But I like him the most because somebody who could be so deranged and grinchy could actually learn such a powerful lesson about love, and to welcome that lesson in and to be transformed by that lesson, to heal from it. And now to be embraced by many who love you. It's interesting because this consciousness of the Grinch had experienced this story and has experienced this story many times through all of us and through the movies and everything, because it's just amazing. It's amazing what the spirit realm experience is like. It's so beyond our wildest imagination. So anyway, let me just get back into the focus here. It's as if a part of himself wasn't able to embrace the story fully, to be fully transformed by it. So, okay, he's just very much so attached to hurt. And he's very much so attached to it because even when he comes forward and is ready to feel love and feel embraced, he also gets scared. And he recedes backward back to what he's familiar with, which is his angry, evil, twisted ways kind of thing. But really, he's just sad inside. he doesn't know how to linger with love long enough to stay with love, because it's the one thing that is so unfamiliar to him. So I say, let's try this again. And I'm at the really long wooden table. And I didn't expect this, but two things happened. One is I sat him on the chair and I was preparing this awesome meal, and I was going to do it right this time. But somehow the mischievous side of myself manifested the Grinch as a stuffed pig with an apple in his mouth, and I'm walking towards him with a fork and the knife, and I'm gonna be eating him for Christmas this year. So two things happen simultaneously. Let's see what the message is in this. I choose to keep him as the stuffed pig on the silver platter, and I walk towards him. He's not allowed to move or to run away or to do anything. And I kind of threaten him in my manner. But then I transform into a bird and I enter into his heart. And I tell him there's no more scary. There's no more sadness. And we both realize that the greatest banquet of them all is love. I'm sort of like a white swan within his heart, and I'm encouraging him to open up. Don't close yourself off. Don't hold yourself together like in a tiny little butterball. Open up and stand up. It is time to leave this dark cave. And I stay within his heart and I call for him to leave the cave. This is amazing because I wasn't sure if I would channel the Grinch or not, and I've had so much encouragement to channel the Grinch, so it's been all of us working together to influence a change in this frequency wave, in this frequency pattern. In an infinite universe, it's just one thread, but it's a meaningful thread. It's been a part of our human race here for quite a few decades now through this story. So you are all here too, all of you beautiful YouTubers. We're all sort of with the Grinch right now, and I'm sort of like a swan person in his heart, and we are all, all of you are sort of like cheering him on and encouraging him and saying, it's okay, Mr. Grinch, you can do this. We support you. And if you feel vulnerable, we are still going to support you. And we're going to encourage you to continue to move forward and not resist the love. Embrace the love and let the love embrace you. And so there are those of you who are sort of picking him up, and we're sort of like a hip hip hooray moment, and he's sort of on the crowd, and we're walking along a long sort of pathway in the mountain to go out the door. So it's interesting because the outside of the mountain is not full of snow and there's no Whoville. It's actually dark outside of the mountain. And everybody disappears and the joy disappears, and he looks at me and he says, what do you think? You think I'm going to change? Do you think that I'm going to let love in? Do you think I will ever be different? And I say, well, you already have changed. You already have let love in. And this again is you manifesting an illusion for yourself that you are in control. You've actually allowed love in, and you are afraid, and you're creating this idea that you are still some sort of evil, twisted Grinch when you aren't. I want you to let go of this manifestation of darkness, And I want you to see what is actually here, all around you right now. He starts to cry and he says, Abby, that it is my greatest fear, is to know what is actually here right before my eyes. I've been shouting it out for a long time, and you're right. He starts to let the darkness fade. I place a candle within his heart. I merge with him once more as myself. And I continue to shine light within him. And I encourage him to continue to drop the curtains of darkness. And just allow himself to have some gentle, loving harmonies enter into his spirit. I hear a piano playing. I'm starting to see images of a man who was brilliant, actually extremely brilliant, and like a genius. He could play the piano, but he could also do math like Einstein and build extraordinary things. He was literally a genius in every way, shape, and form. Not just with math or science or building, and music though too. When he shows me this, it almost becomes too much, and then he starts to shroud it in darkness. And I say, whoa, 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 let's take a look at this. Let's find out who you truly are. Wow, he has a tough time with it. He shows me myself throwing him as a log on the fire, and then I just sort of like wipe my hands clean of him. And I say, I'm just here to help. And I haven't thrown you in the fire. This is a real consciousness, by the way. This isn't just a story. This is healing a real consciousness. He's really lost himself, and he really does have the ability to open up to love, but then it's like he can't hold on to it for very long before he kind of withers back into the dark. And it's almost like the dark is more of a safe place for him, even though there's so many emotions of sadness and anger in here. It's like he's known sadness and anger for much longer than love, and so love is a scary thing for him. It overwhelms him. And he's still not able to just let love embrace him. I'm going to try one more thing here. Some souls are ready and some souls simply aren't. So I also have to come to a point within myself to say, well, this is the Grinch. Now we know. The Grinch is either ready to embrace love or the Grinch is not. So I create the image of a divine mother. And there is a very sacred reflection when it comes to a divine mother goddess, the divine mother goddess body, and the nursing of a newborn baby. And so I am recreating what is him as a baby in mother's arms in a place of peace. And I want to see how he feels in this experience. So I'm just going to stay with it. Wow, he's very interesting. He has about 1,000 different echoing reflections, and they're all having a different thought. And there's a lot of screaming, but there's attempts to try to heal, but there's so much anger as well. And he basically splits off into a bunch of pieces of himself having a uniquely different experience simultaneously. And it's all very much so in the darker side of the spectrum, and it's lost in the dark type of experience. It's anger, it's hate, it's ripping the mother apart, it's saying, I don't have a mother, nobody loves me. But see, in the end, it's like, well, you can only try so long before then he must get over himself and he must come into the light out of his own accord. And if it's sort of interesting because for me to leave him is sort of what he would expect somebody to do. And as you can see in this way, then does he deserve to be alone? Does he deserve exactly what he is experiencing? If he does not ever change, even when opportunity to change comes, and he starts to manipulate and twist it so that he never sets himself free from the hurt, then he'll always remain in the hurt. And it will never be anybody's fault but himself. So, it's an interesting story. What do we make of this story? I'm going to close my eyes for just another moment here. I'm going to place candles of white light and pictures of hearts and smiling faces all around his cave. And I'm going to place these images in his heart. And I'm going to create a gateway directly to heaven. And I'm going to tell him the way is right here. And if you're ready, then I would love for you to step on this pathway that will take you to heaven. If you are not ready, then I have placed healing white candles and happy faces to start the healing process for you. This is ridiculously hard for him. I say you gotta let go of whatever it was that happened, or you're gonna remain like this forever, literally. And this is a forever timeline until you take an opportunity to change. Whenever that happens, then it changes the timeline. So whatever timeline you're on is actually forever until the opportunity is manifested for you to make a different choice. Now the timeline of forever changes. So right now he's on the timeline of forever suffering with loneliness. And the story of the Grinch was an opportunity to help him to access love through his reflection in the story and the Who people that healed him. And now here I am giving him another opportunity to heal with love, and he'll either be ready or not ready for it. Okay, something interesting is happening. I was just about to feel like, wow, well, I guess this is the best I can tell you about this, but something is breaking down the cave here from the outside. And there's a big energy outside, and a lot of light is shining down in here. And the Grinch is sort of like a maggot or a cockroach that is stuck inside of his own hole, in his own space, and he's he's scurrying around and hiding, and he won't just come out of the dark. And something has changed in his heart, but he hasn't. He simply needs help. I don't know what this big energy is, but there's a lot of spotlight now upon him. And he can't run away from this light. And I'm sort of standing in here looking around at the happy face pictures and the candles, and it's like, feels kind of weird, like I was down here for a lot longer than I thought, trying to help the Grinch, who was never going to help himself. In a way, I could have stayed in his world forever trying to help him. But eventually I have to leave and say he has to learn how to help himself. Otherwise, I will remain in his lair forever. Until I choose to help myself and stop helping him. Until he chooses to help himself, you see? Sometimes the best way to help somebody is to stop helping them. Start helping yourself. Well, it's interesting because this light is upon me, and I'm sort of ascending into this light. The Grinch is sort of feeling like proud of himself for luring somebody into his cave that he would convince to try to help him, and he would keep leading them on, and they're still trapped in his world for as long as he can keep them there. But now he too is exposed to the light, which means he is too exposed to himself. I'm disconnecting now from this place, and I'm going to let him decide what he wants to do for himself. There's more to this story. We let go of the Grinch, and when we let go of the Grinch, we let go of that part of ourself too. When we let go of that part of ourself, we can ascend into the light. Do you know what part of yourself is also a reflection of the Grinch within you? Would you be able to spot it? Would you be able to notice it? How long would you stay in forever with this monster within yourself before you realized it was time to move on from that behavior? This is amazing because there are so many beings of love up in this place. And this is a powerful message for the human race. It's about self-realization. It's about working with others to help ourselves, but not taking advantage of other people. But it's interesting because standing strong in what you believe in, but knowing when to stop. Knowing when your presence is no longer needed as the greatest gift of love that you could share with another human being, or with an aspect of yourself that is inspiring you to linger in a dark cave of the Grinch within yourself. Whenever you don't feel you are strong enough, are you strong enough to let love in? If you can't be strong enough to face your vulnerability, could you be strong enough to let love in to help you? And when you let love in to help you, are you going to actually let love help you? Or are you going to take advantage of love, string love along, and smile as love becomes a part of your forever timeline of suffering? And when love leaves, is that love's fault? Or was it your fault? This is the bigger picture of all the individual human beings and our relationships with each other. This is the inner picture, the inner struggle of a single human being within itself, all the versions of consciousness and identity within a single human being. Okay, this is the end of the story. Thank you all for joining me on this journey. I'm in such a daze right now. It's really hard to articulate any thought in my brain at this point. I got nothing. I want to thank all of you for again joining me all the way up to the end. This is another long one, but I'm just gonna own it. I'm just gonna own the length of this long message. And if any of you want to connect with me one-on-one for a psychic session, please visit me at my website at abbeynormalswisdomquest.com. Okay, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a happy holiday and a great rest of your 2018. You'll probably hear from me again before the end of this year, but I will just say that for now.